Go.
Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening to our folks in Europe. So, part 2 of the stream, you know what to do.
Working. Sound is good.
Great. So, for those who might not have heard the initial, live stream, or haven't been on our forums, or who haven't seen any of the half a dozen stories about us, or more on as the newswire has been picked up all over the world, we just announced that we got a $7.5 million infusion of capital from a bunch of folks, and those folks include some of the some of the principals of GF Capital in New York. It also includes a number of other original investors in Mythic Entertainment's Dark Age of Camelot. Obviously, we think this is really good news. I've talked about it at length so far. I'm here so, the folks who, for example, might be on their lunch break on the West Coast, or folks in Europe who couldn't make our first live stream. I'm here to answer questions about it, talk more about it, frankly, assuage fears, or, again, just chat. So I'll keep this shorter than the last one in terms of my explanation, since most of you, I assume, have heard it. But the bottom line is we just received $7.5 million, which will be used to speed up the delivery of Camelot Unchained, to hire new programmers, additional programmers, an additional animator, customer service, other folks as well. All of the money is going into the company. Not a cent of it was given to the co-founders, myself or Andrew. By the way, Andrew was here for the morning stream, but he was sick as a dog, so I sent Typhoid Andrew home just in case he would be contagious. So I am going solo on this. But yeah, that's the bottom line. These investors are long-time, at least some of them, are longtime friends and family. Karen Lauder, one of the investors from GF Capital, and myself will comprise the board of directors. There is zero change in my operational, oh God, now I'm starting to blank. Operational powers. There we go. I am still, I'd like to say I'm still president, but actually I'm CEO now. That was one of the things that now that we've taken capital and growing the company a lot, Andrew and I added C titles to our name. That's about the only real change. I mean, it's not very different than it was a little more than a week ago, other than we just got a nice infusion of capital that's going to speed up, again, the game, which we hope will make you all happy. We certainly are happy. Our recruiters, who are working hard to get us people, are also very happy. They're very happy with the release as well, so they can point, especially programmers, our way. And yeah, it's all good. TLDR, we got some extra money, and the investors, the majority of the investors, all are, again, longtime friends, associates, and the folks who without their help, Mythic Entertainment would have not been able to create Dark Age of Camelot. And that is so important. These are, again, folks I've worked with before, and they wanted to work with me again, and I wanted to work with them again. So that's it. So look, that's it. Very short version. The longer version was in the morning. If you need more information, ask in chat. If you have questions, ask in chat. I'll stick here until 4 o'clock. The last thing I'll say, and just in general, warm up for all the questions, is this is a great bit of news for all you folks. You've been so patient so far. You've waited. You've supported us. And now this is one of the ways that we're going to say thank you to you by going and getting this money to ensure that not only will Camelot Unchained come out, but that it'll come out faster. That'll allow us to hire a lot more people than we could have hired before. It's really that simple. So be excited, be pumped, be a little bit hyped, because Lord knows we are. So with that, go Max.
All right. So remember to ask questions that are about this announcement, not other things, because that's what this stream is all about. Yeah, that's to remind you to take a drink. And Sakrix asks, do you think 2019 is realistic, even with investment? I personally always thought 2 years from when Beta 1 started. What exactly did you sign with investors about 2019?
That's just our projected date. There's nothing in the contract like, if it's not out by 2019, they come and take my soul or anything like that. When you make any sort of investment, you have to have financial projections. You have to project when, the games are going to, in our case, when the game is going to come out, what revenue it's going to drive, all that sort of thing. Because obviously investors want to know about that. But there's nothing in the agreement, absolutely nothing that says the game has to come out. There's no penalties for us if it comes out later. We picked a date that we thought was very doable based on the team size we want to grow to. And they also know that, because, boy, I couldn't have emphasized it enough to all of them, that the dates really depend on how fortunate, because luck is involved, we are in hiring additional programmers and how well they work out.
Lottoween asks, has the date of the next announcement, not the next repeat of this announcement, been determined? And if so, when is it?
No, not yet. We want to get this stuff, get through all this stuff. Andrew's going to be hopefully out in Seattle next week. Like I said, he's kind of sick, so hopefully he doesn't have the flu. Cross was out, and he's out now more than a week actually because of it. So hopefully he doesn't have that. But just like certain things had to be done before we can make this announcement, certain things also have to be done before we can make the next one, and certainly a whole bunch of things have to get done before we announce the Beta 1 date.
Zeusfa1 asks, what happens when investors disagree with monetization practices?
Well, it depends on, the deal. In our case, absolutely nothing. We talked with them at great length about what we believe in, how we're going to monetize, which is our submodel. We also have language in the agreement that is quite clear about who has the day-to-day operational control of the company, who has control of the board of directors, what are the powers of the board of directors. So yeah, we're all good. All we have to do is do our jobs. And, if we do that, we're fine. We don't do our jobs, not fine. But no different than if we didn't do our jobs without the investors. Our job is to make a great game with Camelot Unchained. That's what we intend to do.
Swazi asks, is this new investment going to affect your use of the Builder Brigade or Mod Squad? Will you change to professional artists or developers to create this content?
Yes, it will, but not for the reason you think. Now that we will have additional help, now that we have additional money, and as we talked about in the last live stream, we want to hire specifically for Cube. Again, specifically for Cube. We think it will obviously speed up and make even more important the Builder Brigade. I've already had a quick conversation with Necro about this. Wazi, I'll be happy to talk to you as well. We want to get the Builder Brigade going. As I've said in the past, we couldn't simply because we weren't able to devote any sort of additional programming time to Cube. Just the bare minimum that was needed to deliver it as part of CU. That's part of the deal. That's part of what the money is for, is to, after hiring CU folks, is to hire for Cube. So yes, Builder Brigade will be, I don't want to say re-energized because it really never was energized, but How about will now be empowered more than I think you folks thought it would be.
Abducted Gaming has a question about with the new investments, what does this mean for scouts and stealthers, which have seemed kind of iffy regarding launch inclusion and so on?
Right now, we're not changing anything, and I mean anything, regarding what's going to be in launch, what's going to be in extender pack. We have one job. Number one job of this studio is to deliver Camelot Unchained just the same way we have told you backers to date. So that does not involve using this money as a way to make it more full-featured. It doesn't include us in any way adding any potential delays to get anything in, and it doesn't matter whether it's stealth or the depths or anything. Everything in terms of the plans for Unchained has to remain the same, and it will.
Leon2K asks, congrats on the funding. Because someone has to ask, are loot boxes coming now?
No, not a chance in hell. In any hell with 2 L's or 1 L, there is no, and I mean 0, chance of that happening. As you folks who backed us from the Kickstarter know, I've said that I would give away the source code of the game or shut it down before I'd allow the game to go free to play. Same thing with loot boxes. They are not happening. The investors and I were very clear about that. We are a subscription game, folks. That model is unchanged. We may be Unchained and we may be a little bit BSC, but we ain't going back on that at all. So have faith, don't worry, that will not change.
Gibberlot asks, with this new injection of money, will you be able to create 2 development teams? One to push Beta 1 release, and the other to work on release content?
No. This will simply be enough to, and I'm not sure we would do it that way anyway, but this will be enough to hire additional programmers and animators, etc., to drive, again, the release of Unchained as a launch product, not after.
Cap'n asks, is the board 1 MJ, 2 girl MJ, 3 a GF Capital member?
Yes, that's exactly right.
I am
sure my sister would not like being referred to as a girl MJ. She's pretty special in her own right, as her work with a band in film and her current motion picture career is showing.
Arctics wants you to know to tell MJ I said hello and that I hope he and the family are well as all of you at City State Games.
Oh, thanks, man. Much appreciated. Yes, we are all well. A little bit less stressed, certainly, than I've been in the last, especially the last 2.5 months. But no, all is well, all is good. And I look forward to, thankfully, at the beginning of February, not only taking a vacation for the first time, I mean a real vacation, which means not going to Seattle for business and then taking a couple of days, but taking a real vacation and then getting back here to work as, almost a full-time game designer again, and not as a spreadsheet guy or a financial guy or a business development guy, just a game designer guy.
Hammer1 asks, do you think this will help or hurt other MMOs to gain investors, i.e. investors more willing to take a risk on MMOs, especially with your big changes to the old formula, and will it hurt the others, still trying to make the tired past models work, as in investors looking elsewhere and less money for them now?
Good question. So I don't think it's going to hurt at all, and it should help. I mean, obviously the guys over at Ace, who are making Crowfall, Artcraft, they got a $6 million cash infusion. The Dual Universe guys got a cash infusion. So I don't think this was going to hurt at all. Can it help Other companies, sure. I mean, one of the things when you look at doing a deal, you have to be able to present what are called comps, comparables. Comparables, either an evaluation of the company or of other companies in your space that have gotten investment. And certainly, it did not help my, did not hurt my argument when I was able to tell folks I expected to see, additional investment in this space, and then certain companies got additional investment. Thank you very much. You really helped, because there's nothing like being right. And when you get to say things like, look, this is what's going to happen with the PC space, and this is what's going to happen with other spaces, and then say, I expect investment, to continue to come into the PC space, and then it does, that really helps you with investors. So overall, I think, again, folks like Artcraft, folks like myself, Dual Universe guys, all this just helps other developers as well. It really does.
Laudoween asks, does this investment increase the likelihood of spin-off games, such as Escape from the Depths, working title of the Depths board game, and move up the timing for them?
Certainly the board game. We were very clear with you folks from the beginning that we weren't going to use, any of the Camelot Unchained money or time to make the board game, and so Max has been doing, most of it in his spare time. So yes, this is actually going to help. We will be speeding up the, the work on the Depths board game. But again, that's not our big focus. Big focus, Camelot Unchained. But now we do have some additional money to get some more concept art done for Max, or to be able to have some versions of the game made ahead of time, so we don't just do what we've been doing now for testing with stuff we cut out or other people's game pieces. So that would be nice, to get one-offs. And yeah, it's certainly going to help that. I would also like to get a graphic novel done this year. But none of this affects CU in a negative way. The money that we got was apportioned so that we could say, hey, we're going to be using this for hiring for Camelot Unchained, and then we're going to use this for hiring for Cube or for a board game or a graphic novel.
The Real Ryan asks, will this new investment help in bringing expansions in the future?
I guess you'd have to say yes, but not in the direct way you might be thinking. It will certainly help in that it raises our profile some more, allows us to get the game out earlier, allows us to have a bigger team. So in theory, it could help us, do more in terms of expansions. But it's not a direct, hey, we got $7.5 million. That means we can do expansions. It's not that simple.
I don't think we had this question this time around yet. Gondux asks, what happens when the investors don't agree with something related to the game? How much power do they have realistically?
Zero. Truly zero. All game design, all operational control, when it comes to stuff like that, is mine. I can't go out and take the $7.5 million and buy, a building. So, that the board, certainly has a right to say, hey, Mark, we gave you this money to make games, not to become a real estate mogul. I don't know, but maybe I can become president then. Anyway, so when it comes to game design decisions, nope, that's me now, that's me later. They have absolutely no say in that with these games. Zero.
Zeusfa1 has two questions. Can you give us a guesstimate about timeline now since the infusion of cash? And are you planning on adding new features due to this investment?
2019 is our targeted launch. New features, no. Right now, again, we don't want to do anything, and I mean anything, that could make it harder for us to release Camelot Unchained next year. That's just the bottom line. Is there a chance that some new stuff could get done? Sure. An example we used in the last live stream was, let's say that the game is almost ready, and then we hit a snag like sometimes we do with bits of tech. You know, if we had a spare couple weeks where most of the team wasn't working on anything for launch, is it possible we could do a little more? Sure. But it's not something that we're going to plan out and go, okay, because we have these other programmers, we are going to add all these features. That would be unfair to you folks. You've been waiting a long time for this game, way too long. We're going to speed it up.
Don't forget to hydrate.
Yes, yes, yes. By the way, the reason Max is telling me this is because one of the things that I've noticed over the years of, gosh, E3s and GDCs, is that if I end up talking a lot and not hydrating enough, I get a leg cramp. Feels like you're being shot, like I was shot in my leg the first time that happened. It was amazing. Worst cramp ever. And so I noticed when we were out at lunch and I was continuing to talk that I started to feel something there. So I had Max reminding me to keep guzzling large amounts of liquid so I don't get one of those, because man, oh man, those are miserable.
Gibberlot says, "Hi MJ, first off, I was a massive Dayak and War Online fan and would like to thank you for all those years of enjoyment. And I am 100% looking forward to see you. In your development, we trust."
Thank you very much. You know, Dark Age and Warhammer were great games. Warhammer should have been greater, but that wasn't the team's fault. Both teams executed just brilliantly. Nothing but respect for the day, you know, the day-to-day guys and gals, the ones who were in the trenches, who gave us everything they had, who worked during crunch, who were just awesome. You know, again, whether it was Dark Age or Warhammer, to try to deliver those games to you folks. So, on their behalf, thank you for that, you know, wonderful compliment.
Tinnis asks, does this investment affect further decisions that might reduce incoming studio profit, e.g. possible Steam launch? Can somebody get that?
No. Steam is still absolutely on the table. It was actually in my spreadsheets. And I think I've talked about this a little bit, even during my you know, holiday live streams. And now you folks also know why I was working during the holidays, more so than usual. And so I had to absolutely make calculations based on what I thought our Steam key sales would be, you know, out of how many people that bought keys, what's their adoption rate, how long would they stick. All that stuff had to be modeled beforehand. So no, this money does not in any way affect our decision to use Steam or any other platform. We're still full steam ahead. Oh, come on, Max. Usually you groan.
I got it.
You usually groan when I do something like that. God.
All right.
I'm the guy talking here.
Next time I'll groan.
Thank you.
Squeaky Hero asks, I am assuming that you had to pitch a subscription plan to the investors. Are we close enough to know more about the multiple tiers you mentioned before and how much they are going for?
Well, frankly, I didn't have to. I could have certainly said, hey, I changed my mind, we're doing buy-to-play, because, you know, I never said that we wouldn't ever possibly go buy-to-play, though I don't intend to. I intend to stay with subscriptions. No, we pitched subscriptions because, frankly, it's the best model for us, and it's also the model that they were comfortable with from the Dark Age days. So, no, we are still sticking with subscriptions. We're still saying that it's going to be less than the industry average, and that's it for now.
Okay, this is just an awesome Lotoweenism.
Oh, God.
Lotoween asks, can you describe the 7.5 million tier that was just purchased?
That would be awesome, right? That nobody's asked me for a tier that size. People have asked me for bigger tiers. Absolutely. One very nice gentleman and his friends asked for a special tier that would give them a very special private server. That did not happen, but it was very nice of them to offer.
The Real Ryan asks, Are there any potential talents in the crosshairs as of now, since this new source of funds?
Yes. We've been working closely with our two recruiters, plus Anna, who's still doing recruitment for us. And by the way, if anyone who's listening to this is a programmer in Seattle and would like to leave your comfortable job making probably more money at another studio in Seattle, please let us know. Please let us know. We are looking to expand. Or if you happen to be in the East Coast or miss your family on the East Coast, beautiful downtown Fairfax is waiting for you.
All right. Sacris has a question, and JB tells me that it is related to the investment. Have you considered moving / reassigning roles of people at Fairfax, then recruiting similar roles at Seattle, or moving people such as Ben or even full studio to Seattle now with the new cash investment?
Gosh, JB, why did you say that? Of course. We've been very clear with our folks here that we want to keep
Not for that reason.
that we want to keep the team in Virginia, certainly through live. Again, we absolutely cannot risk screwing up our schedule, right now. We can't. And, would we be willing to, change job positions? Well, certainly, unless, all of a sudden JB wants to become, concept artist. Programmer art and all that. But no, we're certainly going to be looking for different positions, whether it's, for example, senior tools guy, DevOps guy, more gameplay programmers. Certainly one of our server guys, our senior server guy, Mark Hernandez, for example, has said that he'd love to be focusing just on gameplay if we need him to do that. So if I found, a senior network guy who could come in who would be, at Mark's level, that'd be great. But yeah, we just want talent. So please, yes, once again, if you're in Seattle and working for a company there and maybe aren't the happiest and want to come to a place where I can guarantee you it's going to be an interesting couple of years and we still have stock, to go out to anybody who comes in, please let us know. The phones are open. Phone lines are open.
Clearly, we had one ring
exactly
on screen. Gibberlot asks, do you feel like the $7.4 million investment has put you...
Gosh, the money's going down already?
I know.
Jeez.
I think it's a typo.
Yes.
Has put you further out there in the industry? And do you think that you will further become a target for other investment?
I guess, further out there, maybe. But it wasn't... it's not like we got $100 million or $502 million or anything like that. And it's not like I haven't made some games before. In terms of being a target for other investment, possibly. Look, at the end of the day, all that matters is that we deliver on our game. If we deliver on our game, or if we deliver, as we hope, on the Saturday Night Sieges, will there be more interest in us? Probably. But that's not why we did this. We did this number one reason to make sure we could get Unchained out, on a new schedule, on a schedule that's better for you folks, and to make sure that even the beta goes better once we can bring in additional people. If you guys haven't been on the forums, I have a post about that, where one of our backers, who didn't sound like he was terribly happy with this, had commented that there wasn't enough meat in this announcement. And I pointed out all the wonderful meaty bits, including the ability of us to, by having additional programmers, and this has nothing even to do with the animators or anyone else, just additional programmers during beta will make it a better beta experience. Because we can respond to bugs faster, we can fix them faster, we can iterate faster because we'll have additional talented programmers. And if that's not meaty, you know, you're going to have to go back to the old Wendy's commercials. And, you know, that's all I can do for you.
Caladex asks, can the investors pull out their money if they don't like the direction of the game?
Oh, God, no. We're spending their money right now because that's part of what the investment money is for. And no, they can't pull it out if they don't like the direction of the game. That's not, you know, that's not in the contract.
Kick Assassins asks, will any of the funding be used to create marketing content? And will there be a push to get more backers into the beta testing phases?
Yes, absolutely. That's in my budget. I've always said that once we get into beta, we're going to do more with marketing. So yeah, absolutely. Kind of important.
Let's see. Coach T asks, given that certain parts of the development are time-gated, how much faster is faster? Say hiring goes well. What % of an increase in productivity do you expect versus if hiring goes slower?
That's really hard because it's not something you can just throw a number at, mainly because it's not just how does hiring go, but how well does the person fit in? How long does it take them to get up to speed? You know, how good are they, bottom line? You know, you can interview somebody, you can go through, you know, programming tests, you can look at code samples, and still you don't know how they're going to perform until they get there. So, you know, there is no magical formula that I can just plug in right now and say, hey, if we get 5 new programmers, then that's going to gain us 6 months. Because it depends when they're hired, again, how quickly they come up to speed, how good are they really. The bottom line is we know it will speed it up enough to get into 19 if we meet our hiring schedule. And then they perform as expected.
Hydrate.
Yep.
And Vikanos asks, how clear is the division between chief designer and board member? Does having another board member slow any process down at all or anything?
Not at all. They're not allowed to just call up the team and talk about things. You know, there needs to be a separation there. And that's typical in most companies anyway. You know, the board does not generally deal with individual members of the team. Even, you know, lead designers or, you know, lead concept artists. The board does not call them up to ask, hey, you know, how's it going? I mean, is everything okay? That's not what a board of directors does, even in a company this size.
Just an interesting side note, the Fraggin says, wow, I was just going through upcoming MMOs and got interested in Camelot Unchained. And then you are freaking streaming right now. What a coincidence.
Nice. Timing.
Gibberlot wants to know if we're going to get the chance to ask non-investment questions.
Only if we run out of investment questions. I really want to keep this stream and the one afterwards, you know, at 6 o'clock, focused on investment questions. Because frankly, as I said on the forums as well, we have backers from all different time zones. You know, we got folks in Asia, we got folks in MENA, we have folks in Europe, we have folks, you know, obviously in the different time zones of of North America. So I wanted to make sure that I could be available for anyone who wants to jump in to ask questions about, you know, about today's announcement.
And no, Gibberlot, that doesn't mean everyone should stop asking investment questions. That's not going to happen. Jürgen Reamer on YouTube chat, and I'm sorry if I mangled your name. Why did they invest just now and not back then while kickstarting?
Oh, because I didn't ask them back then. I asked them now because, and by the way, by now I mean I've been talking to these guys about what we're doing for, you know, a few years. I didn't get very serious about asking for, you know, them to invest, and I mean really serious, until a little more than 6 months ago. where I pretty much said, look, guys, it's time. You know, things that I've been saying are coming true. Other things that I've said will come true. I'd love to have you as part of this, but we have to go out and get some additional money. I want to be able to speed things up. I want to be able to do some other things as well down the road. And so that led to 6 months of negotiations, of conversations, of spreadsheets, more spreadsheets, more spreadsheets. The spreadsheet that eventually became the deal doc is excessive, but it was necessary to do. You know, one of the things I've done over the years, you know, people ask me to look at deals for them, and you know, tell them, you know, give people opinions, you know, about what I think as an industry professional, that sort of thing. The spreadsheet that we built for this game is a lot richer, deeper, more involved than any other one I've seen. So thanks to the folks at GF who helped me put that together and you know, really do something quite informative with it. So all good.
Serlo the Savage asks, any plans to change any of the store or packages options or prices since this new funding has happened?
Yeah, that's going to come up in the next couple weeks. We're going to make an announcement about that. Yes, we want to make some changes. It's one of the many ways I've always believed in thanking, you know, our backers for their patience. As I said on MOP about 45 minutes ago, when one of the posters there said that, you know, we didn't have to do that, and you know, Bree in her article talked about that a little bit, and the answer is, of course we don't have to do it, and that's why it's more meaningful. You know, when you have to do something because you're forced, or when you have to do something because, you know, you feel it's your responsibility to do it, that's one thing. We're doing it because we want to do it, because we think it is the right thing to do. So we're going to make some changes.
Lee Stomper wants to know, as a quick question, what % is the game at completion-wise?
We're not talking about that. And not that I'm trying to be evasive. I actually couldn't put a number on it right this moment. I really couldn't. And that's one of the reasons we have a new producer, by the way. So they can do that.
I'm going to ask the first part of Perfection's question. Is any of this money going towards advertisement and marketing, or will it only be used for development?
Oh, no, some of it is absolutely going to go towards advertising and marketing. And just so you know, not a ton. For those who were certainly around when we were making Dark Age, you know, of Camelot back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we did a lot of stuff virally and then spent some money as we got closer to launch. We'll be doing a lot of the same things, different ways, but the same idea. We're not going out and spending a significant portion of it on advertising and marketing. That's not the right thing to do, especially in our case. This money should be used, needs to be used, must be used to make a great game out of, you know, to make a game, we try again, to actually make what is going to be a great game come out earlier, and then also use some of the money to speed up and look at delivering Cube as a separate, you know, game as well.
Atropos Nix asks, in addition to simply expanding personnel working on development of the game, will you guys be changing your approach to collaboration workflow prioritization in order to accelerate your launch schedule?
Well, that's one of the things we're going to be talking with a new producer about. Do we need to make some changes? Certainly as we bring in additional people, We have to look at the current processes we have. And I don't want to sound like I'm throwing words at people, but whether they're optimal or not, right? Are we doing things the right way? Can we improve our workflow? Can we improve our communications? What can we do better? I mean, the short answer to that is yes, a lot, as it is for just about any development team. But one of the things I've also said, for a long time, no approach is perfect. If any producer, any team had come up with a magic formula that, hey, I guarantee you, if you use this method, it's going to work, we'd all be using it. Teams, have their own ways of doing things. There are certainly processes, there are certainly different development methodologies that work sometimes. But when you look at the number of games, especially big or challenging games like an MMO, that actually come out on time, pretty much tells you that nobody's doing it, the perfect way. There are right ways to do it, there are wrong ways to do it, and sometimes the right ways actually are wrong. So we're going to try to be better at what we do, certainly, but no guarantee that we're going to be all of a sudden brilliant, or the new guy is going to come up with hey, you guys hadn't thought of this, and I guarantee you this will work. If he does, fabulous. But we'll see.
Lotoween asks, does the investment change the refund policy? I.e., are refunds dead now?
Nope. Refunds are still available.
Sancho asks, will you consider opening a new office in a different location, for instance, San Francisco?
Not a chance. Bree at MOP asked me that, I believe, though it might have been someone else. Sorry, I've done a whole bunch of interviews.
Links.
I'm sorry?
I've just put the link in the chat.
But no, we only want 2 offices. Look, even having a Seattle and a Virginia office is challenging enough. Having a 3rd office would just be way too much. We are focused in what is obviously one of the, probably the hottest real estate market outside of San Francisco, which is Seattle. And of course, beautiful downtown Fairfax, which nobody apparently wants to come to, but we haven't given up. One of our recruiters in Virginia, or for Virginia, says he's got more candidates coming our way, so we'll see.
Thaddeus asks, what happens if the extra cash speeds things up a lot more than expected? Does that mean more features or a faster launch?
Faster launch. We're late. No, there's no 2 ways about it. One of the things that we've always done with you folks is be very upfront. And, we don't want to ever sugarcoat things. Not, at least it's certainly not in a big way. And we're late, and we need to deliver the game. We need to deliver it faster. We need to deliver it with quality. We don't need to deliver it with more features.
Sacrix asks, I hope CSE will not get blinded in regard to rushing things out now with the 7.5 million. And are you still being cautious in this area towards SNS/Beta 1?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we're not trying to rush it out the door. The 7.5 is fine to get it out, whether it's in 19 or even in 20. We just want to get it out because it should be. It should have been out already, and it isn't. And there's no point in hiding that, obviously. So no, our focus is get it out and get it out with quality. It's really that simple.
Architects asks, with this influx of money, are you guys looking to hire any IT managers or higher level IT engineers for the Fairfax office?
We're definitely looking for a good DevOps guy. That's what we need. Depending on how you want to define DevOps versus IT, it's a different story. It might be a different story, but we need DevOps.
Fierent says, thank you for doing all the sheets.
Yeah, it's probably why my eyesight is, over the last few weeks has gone to hell. As the guys who are here could tell you, I've spent a lot of time staring at spreadsheets and very detailed, very, very intricate spreadsheets. So you're welcome, though. And it certainly worked out for the best for all of us.
Thingy67 asks, why did you choose to bring in external investors? Why didn't you just adopt the same model that other games use, pre-selling siege engine concepts?
Oh, nice try. Look, it's not my policy to criticize other devs. My long-standing rule of I don't attack unless I'm attacked first. And then I'll be happy to attack back. The reason we did it, again, without, in any way denigrating any of the other developers out there, is that we thought, and still do, obviously, that this was the fairest thing to do for our backers. It wasn't the fairest thing to do for me, actually. I'm the one who gave up their stock in order to make this deal happen. I'm still the largest majority shareholder, but I had to give up a chunk. And that's okay, because it was the right way to do things. Could we have sold pieces? Oh, absolutely. We could have done equity crowdfunding. We could have done... There are so many different ways we could have gone. This, we felt, was the best way for a number of reasons. And among them, and two of the biggest, is, first of all, that we didn't have to do this in pieces. If we were going to do the whole equity route or sell your blood route, you're doing it in pieces. That takes time. That takes a lot of effort. The second reason is to work with these people again. The principals of GF Capital, who are going to be working with us, I've known these guys for a long time. They're smart. GF Capital is really, really smart. Oh, like presidential smart. Sorry. I couldn't resist. It was just too easy. We've worked again with them in the past, and they can help us build, this company just like they helped, back in the Mythic days. So, looking forward to it for a number of reasons. And again, the best way to protect our backers, as I'll always protect, our backers as well as the studio, was by doing this deal. It wasn't the best for me, but that's okay. You sit in the chair, you take the responsibility along with, hopefully the success. And so, we did the deal.
Gibberlot asks, have you been looking for investment in just the U.S. or throughout Europe and Asia?
We've actually, really haven't made any effort in Asia. We've talked to, from some folks on and off, but it's always been we're not ready yet, meaning we city state, because we know what we have is not going to be terribly exciting in terms of finished gameplay for any of the big Asian companies. And there's some great Asian companies that down the road, sure, we'd love to talk to them again, and frankly, we are talking to a number of them, already, but it's very just cordial. Because, look, again, we're not in that kind of shape where we can show something that feels like a great game yet. We've got great tech. We're starting to feel like a game. Every week that goes by, we feel more like a game. But we're not ready. In terms of Europe, no, haven't spoken to anyone in Europe about investment, mainly because we're not interested in publishing through anybody in Europe. We made a promise to our Kickstarter backers, and anyone afterwards, frankly, that we were going to self-publish in North America and Europe, and so we're sticking to that.
Kink Assassins asks, I'm gathering that the investors have been on board with your ideas for a very long time. Are they wanting to be hands-on in any way other than making a profit in their investment?
Oh, no. Hands-on, we're going to be talking about a bunch of things. If there's, any synergies with companies they're invested in, they're, certainly going to be happy to use their Rolodexes, if it could benefit themselves and our company. But in terms of, again, hand-on, nothing changes. I mean, zero in the day-to-day operations of the studio. Absolutely nothing. Full operational control, full game design control, and 2 of the 3 seats of the board belong to myself and Karen. So, yeah, no change.
Let's see. Any troll questions?
Give him a cookie.
Yeah.
Trolls love cookies.
Let's see. Two Plies asks, do these investors only bring in money, or did you pair with them to bring in new ideas as well?
No new ideas now. It was really just about bringing in some additional money. Going forward, absolutely. Look, these are smart cats. I like working with smart cats. We've worked with them before. I know them. Got to know them even better during the discussions and in the negotiations. Having smart people around you, especially smart people that want to help you, whether it's because of friendship or because of partnering or because of looking down the road to success, that can only help. Especially again when I remain in control of things.
Gibberlot wants to know if the new investment could make the game fall into the competitive esports scene after launch.
Not a chance. We're not looking at CU, certainly not CU, as an esport title. That's not what the game is for. It's not for being an esport.
Ammer1 asks, do you have a good estimate and can share of what your monthly operational costs will be once live? And from this capital infusion, is some portion of it being set aside for giving yourself a longer runway?
That doesn't. Am I wrong? That didn't seem to make sense. Read it again, please.
Sure. Do you have a good estimate and can you share of what your monthly operational costs will be once you're live? And from this capital infusion...
Okay, that's what I thought I said. So once we're live, we don't need an extra runway, a longer runway. Runways usually apply to how long it takes you to get a game launched or to finish a project. So, the answer to the first question is yes, we know what our operational costs are. We had to project them. No, I can't share. That's obviously, private company information. But do we have plenty of runway to complete the game? And the answer is yes. But being live, one thing that has nothing to do with the other.
Hydrate.
Thank you.
And Grimslag asks, it appears, Kismet, that this large influx of funding has not attached any restrictive chains on your IP at all. Was it your intention from the start to remain in absolute control, reflecting on your past MMO projects involving majority shareholding investors?
Kismet had nothing to do with it. Stubbornness, willingness to walk away, and the right partners are what did it. These guys did not want to come in and run the business. That's not what they do. The investors have their own real jobs to do. And I didn't want to give up that kind of control. I wouldn't give up that kind of control. So it had nothing to do with Kismet. It simply had to do with, look, this is the kind of company I run. This is how we do things. This is, the studio. Come down, hang out with us, see if you like the culture, that sort of thing. And the answer to all this, after, again, more than 6 months of work, was a yes. But don't either oversell me or undersell them. These are smart and good, folks. I've known them for a long time. If it hadn't been for them, we certainly would not, back at Mythic, have been able to make Dark Age of Camelot. And by the way, they're not all from that group. So there's they're not. Some investors sometimes get a very bad rap. Other times they deserve it. These are guys who just want to help us, reach what I want for this company. They want to see success, of course. So do we. It's not just the investors who want to see us grow. Every member of this team wants to see us grow and be successful. Everyone here benefits. Every single person this year who is going to be part of the studio has a piece of the action, whether it's with stock or whether it's with royalty sharing. Everyone. So we all want to succeed. That's kind of important.
5-minute warning?
Sure.
All right, 5-minute warning. Cake Assassins asks, do these funds provide the ability to approach certain people you have worked with in the past about coming to work at CSE, such as a very talented and proven member of the industry that you have in your scope that you just couldn't afford previously?
No, because there's nobody that's in our scope that we couldn't afford. There's no discussions I've had with any, certainly former Mythic person, where it came down to we just can't afford his or her salary. That hasn't been an issue. Usually it has to do with location, ability of working remote versus working, in-house, that sort of thing.
Pepe Boyington is translating from French. Asks, MJ, they invested just now. Is this a good moment, or was there a better moment you were hoping for before? And do you think there's more investments coming now, and what are the reasons?
Sure, great series of questions, actually. Thank you. So is this the best time? It's a great time. I certainly would have preferred last year when I first started talking about this, just in more generalities, but still a really good time. Is there more money that could be coming? The people who invested in this, in us, are, these are people who can afford to make this kind of investment. Could we bring in more money from them or others if we need? Yes, of course we could. That's always a possibility. But do we want to do that? No, the answer is a big no. We believe we have enough to do what we need to do. And so we're going to set out and we'll continue to, do what we're doing to make sure that we can, make this all happen.
Carl Klotz asks, back in the days of DEOC, the European community felt like it was always treated as second class. How do you plan to handle non-U.S. communities with CU?
Well, look at what I'm doing now. Look what I've done since the beginning for our European backers. It is our intention never to treat them as second-class citizens. One of the things I've talked about in the forums, and people had asked me why didn't I do a European deal, for example, the publishing deal, to bring in additional money. And certainly I could have done that. It wouldn't have been all that hard. But that would have meant breaking a promise to our European backers. And look, I certainly could have done it, and maybe some people would have refunded. But the bottom line is, I made a promise. I said we would not publish in Europe through anyone else. We would do it just on our own. So that, if I can cite a whole bunch of other things, but if you're looking for proof, it's always hard, especially to believe, about how I feel about our European backers. Just look at that. Here I am sitting before you, telling you folks that we just brought in $7.5 million, where I had to give up a big chunk of my stock for it. I could have gone to a European, publishers. I know who they are, and tried to, make a deal. Would I have been able to make it? Probably. I have been asked by Asian publishers that, also publish in Europe, They would be very interested, especially if we could combine the two. I said no to that as well. So if you need any more proof, there's none that I can really give other than here's a great example of where or how I could have gone back in my word and just used, hey, this was the only choice we had. No, there's almost always another choice. And I made it. And I hope that this and other things we will continue to do for our European backers shows you just how amazingly serious I am about keeping that pledge. We're going to make mistakes. We always make mistakes. We're human. Every developer does. But I don't think there's any other example that you folks, if you look for it, can find where a developer like us has stuck to our guns. Because that's the American thing to do. Stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Guns?
Yeah, I got it. I'm just like, man.
Come on, I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, where we had the choice to do something that might have helped the studio, but would have broken our promise. We did not do that, just as we won't do that. So hopefully, you and our other European backers will look at this and go, yeah, you did it. You kept your word, MJ. We appreciate it. Because we're going to continue to do that now and going forward. Do we have a lot of other questions in the queue? Or are we starting to wind down?
There's very few actually investment-related questions left.
Okay. All right, then let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. We're going to have one more announcement stream today, later this evening. This is the second one, and we will see you later.
Well, hang on. I have to... He does this like the second time in a couple of weeks he's done this. So, as always, I want to thank all of our backers for their support. This is a great, amazingly great day for us, all of us, whether it's CSE or you backers. I want to thank you again for your patience. I want to thank the guys who are coming in, whether via GF Capital or the other investors. Thank you so much for your faith in me and our studio. And a special giant thank you to my sister Karen for her support. And without her, we probably would not have been able to make this happen. I love you very much, Karen. Thank you so much for helping us make this happen. We will not let you down, whether you're my sister or whether you're an investor or whether you're a backer. We are going to do what we said we're going to do. Let's just watch what happens over the next few months. Thank you. I'll see some of you in 2 hours. I am going to go hydrate some more. See ya.
See you.